All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to last week's fight. My name is Thinker St. James. I'm shot out of a cannon today, feeling like $1,000,000, looking even better than that. And I am joined by my good friend, the Ohio player, Chase Parton. How you doing, brother?
Hey, after a weekend like that, you go out and you have a good one, I guess.
We got a lot to talk about today. Absolutely. I'm looking forward. The second that this card ended, the first thing that went through my mind was we were going to have a lot to talk about on Monday, and Monday is here. So, yeah, this this card that we are talking about tonight was UFC Louisville. I forget what numbered event this was, the UFC on ESPN, yada, yada, yada. But UFC Louisville is the one we're talking about here, or UFC St. Louis, Missouri, if you're the guy who's doing the graphics at the very beginning of the live feed of the event. I don't know if you caught that.
No, I didn't, but that's actually really funny.
Yeah, that's happened a couple of times, little random graphics errors and stuff like that. But so UFC Louisville took place in Louisville, Kentucky. Cannonier versus Imavov was the main event, but we got a lot of fights on this card and a whole lot of interesting stuff. This was actually an interesting event overall, like from top to bottom. A lot of really interesting stuff on this. So let's jump right in. Let's start off with Rayan Dos Santos versus Puja Tomar. We talked about this fight a good amount.
I am not surprised. I mean, guys, I told you coming in she was going to get the dub. Shout out India. She put on. And, she was actually cooking. She didn't look like she was just not skilled at all. That side kick she was throwing was was money. And, you know, she showed a little grit. She was tired, which, you know, expected. People come in and they're not ready for the 3 rounds in the UFC. And she got it done. Maybe it was a split, like it was a split, and maybe people are kind of feeling some way. But hey, in the record books, first one to get a dub. So
That's a dub indeed. Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting because what I thought during that fight was it was an extremely strong showing for a new fighter, and especially from an emerging market. As we had said, this is not only the first female Indian fighter, but the first Indian female fighter to get a win as well. Now, of course, with the win that she got. So history, one way or another. But all of that being said, with all of the factors that go into that, I thought she looked very sharp. Her jab was really nice. I was like, she's throwing some really decent strikes. The kicks were nice as well, like you said. Now it was a tough fight. It was a good scrap overall. I actually I was thinking that as well. I was like, you know, for this being a debut and going up against Rando Santos, who has a decent bit more experience. I mean, you know, 14-8. That's a pretty lengthy record. She's been in the cage a good amount of times. You know, I thought she held her own pretty well. As you said, the decision, it's a little bit tough. I'm not. I think Vitz King actually said it best on our watch along. He said, "I am not mad at it. I don't necessarily know that it would have been the decision that I would have gone with, but it's not one that I'm like sitting here tearing my hair out, unlike other things on this card later on." But yeah, I mean, either way though, it was very close, and I think a split decision was warranted. I'm not mad at that part of it at all. There were a couple of very questionable split decisions on this card, but overall, I thought it was a very strong showing and a really nice one. Had she lost, I still think it would have been a very good performance to come in on, get that experience, come back even better. But she did get the win, so like you said, goes down as a win, and that's what it's going to be.
yeah, I mean, she did not do that great in the other promotion she was in, and she comes in, gets this dub, which, however you feel about it, that means she's getting another fight. Win or lose, she gets a third fight, guys. We get to see her 2 more times after this. Third, come on.
She gets to fill out the terms of her contract. That's
I'm
always
ready
something.
for it.
And that's something funny to me in general in the UFC is that like you have a 3-fight contract generally, I guess is like an entry contract, 3 fights, right? Yet at any time they can just revoke that. So it's like, what is the point of the contract? You know what I mean? It's like, it's a very one-sided affair, like all things with the UFC, and that's a whole nother can of worms. But it's just an interesting little factoid about fighters just starting out as she is with the organization. But like you said, we get some more of her. I thought it was really fun to see her in the end. Like as opposed to Anshul Jubli, who was the one getting back down and cowering when somebody was getting a little crazy. She was like, I'm gonna turn up the crazy myself.
Yeah, she definitely stood tall right there. She put a lot of people in their place. I like that.
Yeah, yeah,
good.
and
Big moment.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And history, like we said, and that's very nice to see. So, yeah, it was. I think that Rando Santos deserves some praise herself. I mean, it was it was a good performance on her part as well. Like we said, maybe some people thought it went her way. I kind of sort of think that I'd probably fall in that camp. Very close though. Not a robbery by any stretch. And hopefully she can bounce back and do some more. I mean, 14-8, she's starting to get up there in the fights. It's she needs to start racking up a couple of wins to really get herself back into a forward momentum with the organization if she wants to stick around, but not a bad performance by any stretch. I mean, definitely one that would warrant another fight in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely a good fight to open the card.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another very good point. Yeah, this card was kind of a roller coaster in a lot of ways, and that one just started off what ended up being a whole lot of interesting stuff. So yeah, good opening fight. This next fight is Cody Stamann versus Taylor Lapilus, the Frenchman. What'd you think about this one?
I made a bet, made a good parlay. Obviously, I made money off Puja. Let's lastly end on that. And then I was told to put money on Taylor Lapilus by decision, actually, because he doesn't finish apparently. And in my mind, I'm thinking, ooh, American, French, I don't know, we might be able to do it, especially when the main event comes up. We might go 2 for 2. And yeah, that was a bad call. But I did win money on Taylor Lapillus, so shout out him. Cruised the decision. Wasn't really anything to note there. I was just happy with my choice.
What I would say from him, and that's actually one of the things that I was saying during the watch along as well, was that he's got such length. He's he's got long limbs. He doesn't throw power shots at range very much, which I thought is odd. It's like he'll throw enough pepper shots to like keep himself up on the points and stuff. And he was obviously getting the better of Stamen from the outside when they were at distance. So it was just interesting to me to see the way he was maneuvering, because he was mixing it up pretty decently. I mean, he was moving around, well. He wasn't staying stationary, not like super planted or anything. Kind of walked Stamen down a couple of times. I think Cody was getting a little frustrated by not being able to get in on him. But so all of that being said, it was a nice performance for him. I would have liked to have seen a finish out of a performance like that. I think that all of the elements were in place, especially later in the fight, because he really wasn't taking a hell of a lot of damage. Maybe Cody got a little bit in the first round, I think, when they were a little bit closer tangling up, but towards the end it was starting to become a very one-sided affair. And I kept saying, I was like, dude, if you start putting some actual power on those shots that you're throwing, you might actually be able to pull that off, to get the knockout. And it just doesn't seem like he throws with a great deal of intention in that regard. So that would be my one note about Taylor Lapillus is, very nice technical striking was good. I mean, like I said, he was mixing up a couple of attacks decently. I remember making that note as well. So it was a good performance, but yeah, come on, man. You always want to be going for the finish, and if you can get it after what you had already done, I think that it would have been warranted. So, I'd like to see more power and more emphasis on getting a finish when it's within arm's reach.
Yeah, just not much to mention from me on this one. I just cruised on. I was
Yeah,
cool with it.
fair enough. I thought it was unfortunate for Cody, because he is kind of a dog fighter when he can get inside. It's just he wasn't able to, and that's sometimes
Yeah.
the way that it goes. So there you go. But yeah, nice job for Lapillus. A nice showing for France. We're starting to see these emerging markets do some little flecks of good things here and there, which is nice to see. So Viva France.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. All right, moving on to this fight. This is a fight that I have absolutely nothing to say about, so I hope you got something to talk about with this one. This was
Oh,
the most,
Eduardo?
yeah, Eduardo versus
Oh,
Eduardo
for
Mora.
sure. I'll talk some shit about
Oh,
her. Hold on.
please go.
She came in undefeated, and she was like absolutely gassed going into the second fucking round. Like, and she looked like god awful. Like, I I might have even put money on her, or I pulled out on putting money on her at the last second. I can't remember, but yeah, she got outstruck 137-27.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous, especially. Why are you 10-0? How'd you get 10-0? I
that's
mean,
a
you
great
might be
point.
good, but the cardio was just not there, and I didn't see anything. I mean, bro, actually, okay. Now I was about to talk really crazy because 26 takedown attempts. No wonder she was tired, but she was just reaching for air at the fucking end. So
Well, reaching for air is a great way to put it in general, because there was a whole lot of times in this fight where they were just throwing what looked to me like almost like ballet. I mean, they were throwing it such like with no intention of actually hitting the other person. I really like vividly remember at one point, one of them, I don't remember which one it was, but just swinging their arm wildly and spinning themselves around. You know what I mean? It was
yeah,
just like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah, I didn't realize that Mora was undefeated coming in to this fight. That is an interesting note to it. Denise Gomes is one who I've seen a couple of times and have not been very impressed by as well. So I guess I probably would have had more of a stronger feeling about it had I known the record going into it for Mora. But yeah, I mean, seeing the actual reality of this fight was, I mean, it was just a slop fest, really, is what it looked like to me. I mean, they were just both very sloppy. The striking was like not. I mean, you would have liked to have seen, if Mora was going to go for that many takedowns, you would have liked to see Gomes going in with some like technical striking to counteract it and get herself up on the cards at the very least. I didn't see any of that from her. Like the defense was okay enough to get it to a neutral state, but then you end up in these stalemate situations that just make it extremely boring. And yeah, I was just I was checked out. Like about halfway through this fight, I was checking chat because it just wasn't engaging. I was not enjoying this fight, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Yeah, the fact that it was actually a split decision, one ref gave 29-28, or one judge, excuse me. No, that should have been unanimous. She got whooped up on. She looked amateur. I mean, that was can't really say much.
Yeah, and I mean, really, to have that from a fighter who was not really even putting on that great of a performance herself from in Gomes. It just,
Yeah.
it was, you know what I mean? I didn't see that because you've seen it plenty of times where people go back to the well and get caught for it. I mean that's a textbook case of a fighter figuring out what's coming at them, realizing it and adjusting. That's what you want to see. Did not really happen in this fight, and I just I really was not impressed on either side, and like you were saying, to come in undefeated. You're right. Where did those 10 wins come from? What organization was she in?
Who knows?
I mean, since we're talking about it, I'm just kind of curious. Where's her MMAdecisions.com? Nah, go to Tapology real quick, just because we're talking about it. I'm interested. I mean, this has to be coming from. She's Brazilian, yeah, right. So I mean, these got to be coming from some, one of the lesser promotions down there. Thunder Fight, Demo Fight, yeah. I mean, I think
Nice.
that yeah, right, exactly, yeah, great. She did have the one in the UFC before that. I don't remember seeing her fight before, but she did beat Montserrat. Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, no, I mean, these fights definitely don't tell the tale of what that fight ended up being. Not much else to say about that one. All right.
Well, Uno card reverse, because I have not a lot to say about maybe this one and even the next two, because I spilt my drink everywhere, all over my desk. Right? I don't know what moment it was happening. It was probably because I was messing around trying to open up this monitor to set up, but drinks went flying. I went panicking. And somehow I looked at just a minute ago, and I think to myself, how did I miss almost 3 fights? Like, that's actually crazy.
And you were having a decent amount of problems during the stream.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, internet was cutting out. That actually might have happened. No, it might have happened right around here too. I was getting frustrated, man. It was a rough one.
I went back to, occasionally I'll go back and try to check out the VODs here and there just to see what the discussion was like. And
Chaos.
I went to that, the one where you picked back up and you were not happy. Sounded like me.
That was ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But anyway, so John Castaneda, Daniel Marcos.
Yeah.
What do you have to say?
I mean, good performance for Daniel Marcos. It deserved win. I mean, it wasn't, like a super knockdown drag out, if I recall. I mean, the strikes were definitely a little bit more on, Marcos's side. Yeah, I mean, really, it was, just a kind of a textbooky sort of performance there. I don't recall any overly standout moments that drew my attention to really be expounding upon.
I mean, for 16-0, you would think like a good performance, or like he would show like, hey, I'm dominant for being 16-0, but for being, unanimous decision, I guess I can't argue much. But
yeah, no, it was a clean win, absolutely. I mean, and it was one of those deals where Castaneda, I actually had picked Castaneda going into the fight just because of the experience. I kind of thought that he would have a little bit more of a fight IQ that could kind of counter what was coming his way. Marcos was he was decently dynamic, I would say. I mean, like he moved well enough to to be getting the shots and doing what he needed to do. I mean, it was just really kind of a textbook deal. I mean, he got the one knockdown. I mean, legit. It wasn't enough to to become a fight-ending sequence or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, it was a fine performance. I mean, it definitely a warranted win, and I mean, like we say a lot of times, give us something to really remember, not necessarily something to to remember in that fight. But his hair's cool. I think that
Yeah,
we were talking about
short.
that.
I mean, can't argue
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
Go out in
exactly. So,
style.
but yeah, not and really, I think that this is another one that is kind of more on the unfortunate side for Castaneda, because it's like, dude, 21-7, like you should really be, you should be able to show out a little bit more than that at this point in your career. It's not great to be getting unanimously defeated by a dude who's just starting out, or not just starting out, but on such a win streak that has not been defeated. There, like you should be the guy that can be able to figure out, a dude who's on a win streak like that if he's newer to the organization, which I believe he is. I think this is only his like second or third in the UFC. So, you know. Okay, yeah, he was another Contender Series. So this was his third after the Contender Series. So
Okay.
I mean, again, one to watch. Definitely not no slouch in him. I mean, good performance, and yeah, just a kind of a name to file in the back of your mind. I think is really more of what I would say about it.
Yeah, not too much there.
All right.
Two women next that I for sure do not remember one bit of. I normally remember the girls. Don't get me wrong, guys.
Yeah,
I'll remember.
This one I do remember a decent amount of, for the fact that De La Rosa was doing a lot correctly. Her performance stuck out a little bit more in my mind. So in this fight, Andrea Lee it was really kind of one of those like stylistic matchups that was interesting in the sense that Lee is sort of that like jittery kind of very fast twitch sort of movement striking style. Like she's kind of sort of scrappy in that way, where she's kind of constantly shifting and moving around. Jittery, I guess, is really just the way to put it. De La Rosa kept very calm, was using her reach really well, and basically just wore her down. I mean, she just was staying in the in the pocket well. Like when Lee would start going into these sequences of couple trying to mount a couple combos and switch things up, she just stayed with it. Very very calm and composed performance for her. That really ended up working out in her favor. I mean, at one point, I think Lee was getting a little bit better of the striking, but De La Rosa just stayed with it. It was just a really nice display of keeping calm under pressure, and knowing that you have a game plan in mind of how you want to finish a fight. Not finished in the sense of finish, but how you want to take it through to the end of the fight.
Right.
And she stayed the course, slow and steady, won the race.
That's good. Yeah, dang. Too bad I couldn't miss this, or I missed this one. But yeah, I mean, either one of them, 13-10, 13-9. Either one of them were going to be 13-10 after this one.
Right.
So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, it was. I think that you're at that level with the two of them. It's kind of like they're both at that sort of lower level, so it's like lower level meeting lower level. I don't know how De La Rosa would really fare against any of the real killers of the division, but for where they're at in their careers with those kinds of records, it was what you needed to do, and I think she did a good enough job of it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a filler fight. Definitely a filler.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, you need them. I mean, look, any one of these fighters, when we say those kinds of things, any one of those fighters can go out there and put on a performance to get out of that category. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you're stuck there forever. Go out and prove that you're not that. You know what I mean? Like, it's really a very simple formula when it comes to MMA. Go in there and fucking show out. That's all you got to do.
Right.
So, if it's going to be sort of a sort of a middler fight, then you take it for what it is, and that's okay too. They want to fight, they'll let them fight.
All right.
Brad Katona versus Jesse Butler. This one you did see.
Oh, I did see a little bit of it. This might have been where the drink spill happened because I might have been upset, not at Brad Katona, but I did put a little down on Jesse Butler, and I will say Brad Katona did exactly what he was supposed to do, and I'm very grateful for that performance. Good for him, but that's about it, bro. You still you get another one, and then we start giving you some praise because beating up
Well,
on the dude that you should beat up on, and you didn't even finish. That's actually kind of annoying. So,
and so let me say this, you know, for the first 2 rounds of this fight, I was thinking that what we had said on the preview was coming true before our very eyes in the worst way. He was wet blanketing, he was neutralizing. It was very much a keep a kickboxer on the ground kind of situation, proving Cody Gibson 100% right. Then in the 3rd round, he all of a sudden says, now it's time to strike. And I was like, cool, great, finally. You know, thank you at least for doing that by then. But it's like, Brad, you get half a round to 1 round of that at that. And even that, I'll still be like, yo, dude, you didn't need to neutralize the entire 1st round out of the way. You know what I mean? Like, that to me, it's like, tire him out a little bit. I get that. You know, you can clinch up against the cage a little bit if you need to do that as well. They're like, you can do it in patches so that it's not all one thing that entire round. But when you do it 2 rounds and then to come in and strike in the end and still not get the finish after all of that, it's like, I mean, talk about safe fighting. I mean, like,
yeah.
Jesse Butler,
No,
again, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, Brad, you got all the skills, man. It's just putting them together is the real key. Not using wrestling for a whole 2 rounds or whatever, and then using the striking. Like, you got to mix it up and utilize it effectively and get the finishing sequence. Like, you should always be looking for the finishing sequence, not wrestle for however long and then try to just punch him for a little bit. Like,
You know, if he hadn't struck in the 3rd round, it was smacking of the Grant Dawson fight. And I keep referencing that one because I think it's a really good example of this type of thing where it's like, you know, you have to do more. Like, and not only do more, but you have what appeared to be somewhat of a blank canvas in your opponent. This Jesse Butler dude was not putting up any kind of opposition to most. He was, talk about accepting the position. You know, they talk about that a lot where it's, you know, when you're on the ground and you're being wrestled, it's like you have to be active to try to get out of it. You can't just lay there and accept that this is what your life is now. Like, he was giving Brad all of the possibilities to do anything he wanted. You could have painted any kind of portrait you wanted to paint in that fight, and this is what you chose to do. And that's what bothers me about it. It's like you just said, Brad, we know you got the skills. You know what I mean? They are there. But like, dude, you got to show it, and to do it the way that you did, it's like, it just was safe fighting, and it's like, if you just want to get the win, all right, you know, I guess I can't be all that mad at that. That like, look, you know, your job is to go out there and win. I understand it from that perspective. You're coming off of a loss as well. I get it, but to watch, it's like, but you're not inspiring anything, and you're also not doing any good towards your reputation that is already somewhat of being a little bit of a prissy boy, you know, a little bit,
right.
A little bit, you know. Yeah. So, I mean, that doesn't help that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Brad, decision merchants, they're not getting a good rep right now, okay? So.
And to be the now 2-time Ultimate Fighter winner, like, you're not doing that justice even. You know what I mean? I would say that Ricky Turcios did more justice to the Ultimate Fighter than he did.
Yeah, for
Ricky
sure.
Turcios did not win his fight. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, just, you know, it's Brad is an interesting cat to me. You know, just all the whole package in general with him. And these kinds of fights like just reinforce the negatives about him that I sort of have in my mind. Brad, break the negatives. That's all I would say. You know, give me a reason to be like, damn, Brad, you really showed out. You really proved me wrong.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll happen, but
well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, like, if he comes out and loses his next fight and starts checkering, starts doing the candy cane, I mean, you know, you don't get a third shot at being the Ultimate Fighter. You know what I'm saying? So,
yep.
We're going to have to see what happens there. But Anyway, all right. So this next fight was one that I really, really wanted to talk about. You did see this one, yeah?
I did see this one. I'm actually not remembering it taking this long for the finish to happen. I feel like this happened so much more quicker. I mean, there was one on the card that happened really quick, but I thought this happened way sooner than 4 minutes and 47 seconds. But man, was it the money shot? That,
Yeah, that seems
phew,
very strange to me too. That feels like this is like reversed, like
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
I thought it happened like almost instantly. That's why I was looking at the other times to see if the other guy, but no, the other guy's got one in 20 seconds, and I'm like, that's almost as quick as the other guy got one. Like it was maybe I can't imagine they felt each other out, test and range for 4 minutes, like because this happened like almost in an instant. Like he really messed Charles up. Like
yeah. So the reason I wanted to talk about this one specifically, aside from it just being a very, very fantastic performance by Carlos Paredes, so I know that you are not as well versed in the other organizations besides the UFC, not watching one or Bellator slash PFL very often, but myself and Vitz King are big fans of one. And one of the reasons that we love one championship so much is because there is a lot of Muay Thai in one. And even the fighters who are fighting MMA will often be from Muay Thai backgrounds. So you see a lot of Muay Thai mixed in with the more traditional MMA elements, the ground game and the such. So to see what me and Vitzking are always saying about that is, when are we going to see an effective Muay Thai fighter come into MMA in the UFC specifically and really show out for Muay Thai? There have been flecks of it. You know, we've had a couple of guys who will employ. I mean, you're seeing guys Thai clinch all the time. I mean, that's not uncommon. Yeah. Throwing the knees up the middle. I mean, that's pretty regular. But it's more rare that you see a guy who's based, in Muay Thai specifically as like their primary discipline come in and mount a really long successful run in the organization. And we've had discussions on the streams, the other watch along streams, while we're watching one, saying like, is it because these guys are fighting in one because they're just from that side of the world, or is the money better? Is it what are why is it that way? We don't necessarily have the answer to that question. However, we've wanted to see this more and more. So for Carlos Paredes to come in and show out, the man has Muay Thai tattooed on his chest, and it's there for a reason. Loved it.
Yeah, I dig it.
Fucking
yeah, and
did
you see the videos of him smoking cigarettes after?
I did.
Yeah.
And before, apparently, too. That was
he's a legend.
I was just watching MMA Zone. They were talking about that. And that is nuts. How you can have the cardio. How old is this guy? He must be a pretty young guy. If he's
the fact he was just out on the streets, too. It's not even like he was just having a smoke outside the arena. Dog was just at like the taco shop, like just having a cigarette.
Legit, bro. Yeah, he's 30, man. You gotta be careful with that shit, dude. Like, start getting into your 30s, bro. Shit changes. You might want to cut back on that. Start going to go over to the vape. You put different chemicals in you.
Right.
But yeah, no. So yeah, Carlos Paredes, though. I mean, that it was just a really, really nice showing of that. And how often in the UFC do you see body shot knockouts? Very rare.
That was really good.
Yeah, I was loving it, dude. Because you see those more often in one. There was a one card that I think me and Vitz saw that was like had 3 or 4 of them, all off body shots, all liver shots.
Well, specifically a knee to the body too. You don't really see, which I don't know why. That seemed a little easy to me. He put his hands up and the knee went right to his liver.
It was such a perfectly placed one too.
It looked like it hurt like a bitch. I'm telling you that.
Well, those liver shots, I mean, it's
wasn't,
like
bro,
the off switch.
It's the liver for sure, but like he caught, bro, his ribs might be broke. Like that was such a crazy knee.
Well, what I said on the watch along too is that like the trajectory of it was really like on the fucking money. It was so perfectly placed because the angle that his leg was. So like if you picture like my hand being like the rib cage, right? It was like up and under the rib cage. So it's like he might have broken a couple of ribs in there or like bruised, at the very least bruised them. But it was the fact that it was coming like underneath it like went up and under it. that's where you really hit the organ, and that's where the damage really. I mean, it's like it really is just like hitting the off switch. You know, I
Yeah.
always think back to Macy Chieson getting that upshot liver kick that knocked her out. That was like that's always kind of like my prime example of that because I think it was Pansy Kedze or whatever that I think the chick from Sweden or that area of the world. She just landed like a really perfect up kick that was like right on the money and just shut her body down. And you can see it in real time. It's like you get hit the organ, it's just everything just immediately shuts down. They come back pretty quickly afterwards,
Yeah.
but in that moment, you're just neutralized entirely. You're out. You're done.
Yep.
So Radke felt that power. So yeah, really, really nice. And that's what I'm saying about the Muay Thai style. Like I'm telling you, dude, you got to watch one sometime, bro. The fights are crazy. I mean, like you're gonna have your grab bag like always. I mean, it's it's like anything else. Some fights are gonna be better than others. But even the most terrible one fights, when it comes to at least the Muay Thai, because one has they have like straight jiu-jitsu matches. They're very much about like showcasing all martial arts. So there'll be different rule sets and whatnot, of kickboxing and everything else. But the Muay Thai fights specifically, that is just some next level shit, man. And really nice to see it in the UFC.
Last thing to note is I did pick Charles Radke in my predictions because I do like that guy. Just he's a cool dude. And then, but when it came to the bet slip, I bet for it not to get to not go to decision, and that was a good call because one of them was going to lose because I didn't even actually notice like Charles Radke. He is kind of a slugger, man. Like
Oh,
it could
sure.
have went either way, in my opinion.
Oh, well, I mean,
I'm
that's he
surprised he
got the
went
win.
down, but it was just really it was really just the perfect shot,
Yeah, and I mean that was what how he ended up with the wins. I think in his last two, if I'm not mistaken. I think that I don't think he's gone to the decision. Maybe one of them. I'm fairly certain that he had. I don't know if UFC is updated there. Okay, so one of them. Oh, he went to decision with Blood Diamond. Yeah, that was kind of a shitty-ish fight anyway. But no, yeah, the one before the one after that, Gilbert Urbina, that was the one in Oh no! No, that was he went to decision in Australia. That is interesting because I thought that was the one that he got the knockout in. My brain is mixing up the two. But the last fight before that, he did get the knockout there. So yeah, he does slug. He's got some nice hands. But yeah, I mean he got caught for real, and that thing just like I said, like a light switch, turns you off.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. I could say this guy. Okay, so the next matchup, Thiago Moises and Ludovic Klein.
Yes, sir.
Thiago did not show out. He has faced some real talent, and I figured he would show up with the confidence that he's faced top level people, that he can just handle this next guy up. But he went in there fighting as if Ludovic was the best. Like he just let him play whatever the fuck he wanted to do. And you skated all three judges gave you 30-27. Not one even thought like maybe 28-27 or whatever the heck. Like it's crazy to me that you just did not do anything to set yourself up for success in this.
He looked like he was fighting nervous, and I mean I don't want to put that on him, and maybe that maybe it just appeared that way, but he looked like he was fighting cautiously and never really stopped doing that. Like it was one of those unable to get out of second gear kind of performances. And Ludovic Klein, on the other hand, was just able to do whatever the hell he wanted for a lot of that. I mean, he was looking pretty sharp. Some of his striking was looking pretty nice.
Yeah, no, for sure. He's actually somebody to look out for because he does look talented, and honestly, that dude's kind of jacked. I don't know.
And he's got all of Slovakia on his back, man. So he's showing out for another underrepresented country. Not necessarily the region, but the country itself.
True, but yeah, Thiago. I don't know. That was just a bad performance, especially coming off a finish. Like you were supposed to get yourself back into the talk of the town column, especially it wouldn't look that bad after you lose to BSD, then you come get a knockout, and then you at least win this one. It doesn't matter finish or not, you move on from a loss. But like, gosh, dude, rack up another L because you didn't do anything. You just went in for a paycheck. That's all it looks like, man.
Yeah, and looking at these numbers, man, 1 of 1 takedown for Klein, 0 for 8 for Moises. That ain't it, brother. That is not
Yep.
it. So yeah, I mean, it really just looked like, and it was strange to me too because like it really looked like pretty much from the start of the fight that he was kind of apprehensive. Like he just didn't look like he wanted to engage. Didn't look like he wanted to
Yep.
be there all that much. Which because I remember we had been his name had been bouncing around the Discord a little bit. As one to keep an eye on and. So I was like, all right, put that in the back of my mind while I'm watching this fight here, and yeah, Ludwig Klein just really had kind of carte blanche to do whatever he wanted, and he certainly did. I mean, decent decent stats on his side. So
Yeah, I thought this was a really easy one to skate by with, because so in the parlay we had what was it? Charles Radke and Prados to not go to decision, right? And then we had Taylor Lapilus, right? And then we had Tiago Moises. And the fact that he came out and lost us our money with no urgency, like he didn't give a fuck. He didn't care that I had money down. He said, fuck that. I'm going.
yeah, no
Crazy.
shit, dude. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of broken parlays on that one. Unfortunate because yeah, I mean, I would have liked to have. I mean, it would have been a much more competitive fight had he seemed like he wanted to engage in it, but he just did not look like he wanted to be throwing hands, and that's kind of what you got to do when you're up inside of that cage.
Yep. So
All
this next
right.
one can be talked about a lot.
Yeah, on to the main
Oof.
card. Punahele Soriano. What the fuck? Where did this guy come from?
No idea, but the dude that he's facing. So I didn't make this bet specifically, but I'll start out with this one. So the bet that was favored, right? Like minus 160, very likely to happen was the Beza guy to land 25 strikes. Now, officially, he has 22.
That's tough.
At the end of the fight, they gave him 26, right?
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough.
And then they took it down to 22. So that just
Ah.
shows you, like, they even were being generous to you, bro, and you were so bad that you let people down on maybe the easiest bet ever. Look how many strikes the other dude put up, and look at the accuracy of them. But
Bro.
best believe that is a record. 84% on 394 strikes.
So,
Holy shit. And go on. Yeah.
yeah. Well, so what I was going to say there is that Punahele Soriano set the record for most significant ground strikes in, I believe, in the welterweight division. It might be in the UFC period. And part of the reason for that, though, is because this referee, we're in Louisville, Kentucky. You've got the Louisville or the Kentucky Commission. So I don't know. A couple of these guys might have, be somewhat inexperienced, but you did have a couple of pretty experienced referees. We'll talk about that in a little bit later.
Yeah.
But, so it was interesting because you had a very good variety of referees. I don't remember which one was on this fight, but whichever one it was just letting Punahele Soriano rain these strikes down. He was getting tired just from the amount of offense he was having to throw because this judge refused to stop it at any point, even though
Yeah.
there probably were a couple of times that he could have.
It was so impressive. And so, you love to see people do moves that, you just tell that they're trying to win the fight. This dude had his head on his chest, just swinging back and forth at his body, just like, and it was unanswered. The other guy was just holding on to his head, just letting him tee off for like 30, 40 body strikes. Like, it was honestly insane. Multiple times. It wasn't just one instance. This guy was getting beat on, literally.
Yeah, and multiple times the referee could have stepped in. I mean, there were definitely, there were at least, I'd say, 2 or 3 where we were like, is he going to stop it at, like, ever? Like, is this going to get stopped?
That's an interesting point you make, because at no point did I think, and I don't think the group even thought that either, like, oh, this is going to get stopped. Like, oh, they need to stop this. Like, it was just, we wanted to see this dude beat this guy for how bad he is. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, don't stop that fight. Let him get 500 strikes on him when he's doing this dumb shit. 3 sub attempts is honestly crazy because I don't remember. I maybe remember 1, but they're being generous on a lot of the stats to make him not look as bad as he is, because that was a stellar performance by Punahele. Like, wow.
I mean, talk about one-sided. I mean, and I'm not even saying that it like was so like the striking that he was doing was all effective and it was unanswered for sure. So I'm not saying, but it wasn't like he wasn't really like power striking to the point where it was like this is an obvious stoppage that needed to be stopped. I don't think that it like at any time I was like saying, ref, you need to stop this. However,
Yeah.
there were a couple of times that if you see the guy sitting there taking massive amounts of damage and not doing a damn thing about it, that other referees would have stopped that. I think that we know one off the top of our heads that we could definitely say would have stopped that.
Jesus Lord. But
we'll get to the main event in a bit.
So shout out Punahele. We'll see what he does. I mean, that's 10-4. I feel like he's been around for a minute, but
that was the interesting thing is that like I didn't realize that he had 4 losses at this point because I was like when he was going into this 9-4, I was like, man, that seems higher in the loss column than I would have put him at. And then I think that I kind of just got it in my mind thereafter. I was like, oh, maybe he's just one of the island dudes that wasn't reaching the same heights as some of the other guys are, because a lot of times you see the dudes from the islands and it's just you automatically just think like they're all just really going to skyrocket because a lot of them have that ability. But that being said, when you put on a performance like that, I mean, the only thing that I would say, I think I'd give him for different reasons the same criticism that I gave Taylor Lopoulos. Bro, finish the fight. I mean, like there. Because really that the one-sidedness started, I mean, like what, halfway through the first round, pretty much. I mean, like
it was pretty crazy.
It was very, very quick to being just this all out, what the numbers reflect. I mean, like it turned into just him, all gas, no brakes for the entire thing. You could have probably finished that. So I think, maybe there's, some adjustments that he could make a little bit with the power versus the volume. I think that would be a fair criticism of it. Either which way though, what a goddamn show.
Arguably, and to argue your point, to say he should have finished it, you are a part of the group that thinks it could have been finished or it could have been stopped. So
you make a good point.
Punahele, keep doing it, bro. You obviously, hey, you beat the shit out of this guy.
For sure. Yeah. And really, I mean, it's not a strong criticism. You know what I mean? I'm not out here trying to rain on the parade. Cause I mean, it really was a fantastic performance overall. But it's just one of those ones that could have, maybe a different referee, maybe different circumstances, but I think that he probably has a little bit more power than he was showing, only in the sense that when it was like, if you've gotten to the point where you've landed now multiple tens of strikes, significant strikes on top of the multiple strikes thrown, total strikes, that if you pull back just a little bit, save it, actually do the finishing shot, probably could have gotten that. But, and then not left it up to a referee who made it questionable one way or another. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. But again, really, it's splitting hairs unnecessarily. It was a very nice performance.
All right. So before we get into the next one, Mr. Rage quit, of course. And so the next one, Julian Marquez versus Zachary Reese. Boy, I actually rewatched this one today with my dad because I showed him. I was like, hey, you got to watch this one. It's really quick. Like, you just pass by.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was, dude. And I just checked the Julian Marquez record, and it's like he's been knocked out 3 times back to back to back now. And we've obviously seen somebody else on this card who's done that. But this guy, you landed 1 strike and then got chinned immediately, and you let the guy with the mullet look like, oh my goodness, like you got this guy hyped as hell, and he thinks he's the king now. So I'm ready to see him next fight, and I want to see if he's gonna, be able to do some shit. But yeah, Julian cooked.
Yeah. It's when you put it.
Oh, he landed a leg strike. He didn't even land like a strike to the head, or it was just 1 leg strike and then got bombed. Oh.
Yeah. It was. Really, I really don't have much to add, honestly. I mean, that really was pretty much the tail of it. I mean, I guess it's one of those fights that it makes you wonder now. It's like you said, Zachary Reese, is it legit or is it just a glass chin getting
Yeah.
shattered yet again? I mean, it's hard to say. The strike was nice. I mean, the shot was clean. It was a good shot.
Yeah.
Landed, well timed, well placed. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it necessarily tells the full story of Zachary Reese, but now you've got a lot of eyes on you after that. I mean, he got the crowd nicely hyped up
Right.
with his, give me a hell yeah shit, in the
Yeah.
post fight. I mean, you stop a fight that early, you got a lot of time on the mic, and he used it pretty effectively. So, yeah, I mean, I guess there's really no reason for him not to feel like big king shit right now. Go out there and do it again.
It's a good point.
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah.
it was a good showcase. I'll tell you that. And when you have somebody who has been knocked out a couple different times, and you're the next person that steps up to the plate, like you're maybe expected to do that. So Zach, shout out to you, but I need to see it again. If this is if your thing is knocking people out, if you're like, I'm okay with it, we'll see it again.
And that is kind of what the unfortunate. I mean, awesome, great knockout, but it is partially unfortunate from an understanding of who he is as a fighter, because it's like you don't see anything else. I mean, it's it doesn't give you enough data to make an informed decision going forward necessarily. I don't know if I've seen any of his previous fights. Is he a Contender Series guy as well? He might be.
Yeah.
Oh, he lost to Cody Brundage. There you go. Okay, so yeah, he isn't a Contender Series guy, but has lost to Cody Brundage. That was where Cody was mounting.
Oh, he slammed him.
Oh, he was the dude that got slammed. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. All right.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Okay, so he's
indeed.
an idiot.
The plot thickens.
Yeah.
So there you go. Now, I mean, how do you make heads or tails of what to think about that going forward? You know what I mean?
I will say that's a good comeback. I'll give him that. If we're gonna give Zach props here, that's a good comeback after you do something stupid and let yourself get slammed into a knockout. Come back, finish it in 20 seconds. Okay, I get it. Get hype. I'll give you that one, Zach. You got hype for a good reason. I was judging the book before the cover.
Fair. I mean, really, I think that now we're gonna have to see what he can do in an actual firefight. I mean, like, what can he do when the opposition is a little bit stronger, and it's not going to be something that is as rare as a slam knockout. You know what I mean? Like, because that slam knockout, I remember that card because that was the one that had multiples on it.
Yeah,
that was
two back to back.
Yeah, two back to back. I mean, very impressive, and cool to see and all that. It is extremely unlikely that he's going to necessarily be extremely unlikely. It is unlikely that he is going to be in a position like that exactly again. So that being said, what does it look like in a more normal fight against somebody who has a stronger chin? Because we're just gonna have to
exactly.
See. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but I mean, hey, that's for the future. The right now, absolutely deserve to get hype on that mic, because that was a very, very clean knockout.
Facts,
and
for sure.
Julia Marquez, I don't really know what to say to that. I mean, he's got the Cody Garbrandt disease. I mean, that's just it's a tough thing to deal with in MMA. I mean, the only real thing that you could possibly do is try to move down in weight and hope that the guys lower don't have the knockout power. But that's, I mean, it's a risky proposition, especially if you're fighting at middleweight to begin with. What, you're going to go to welterweight and think that you're not going to get knocked out at welterweight? I mean, that's, so yeah, that's a tough one. Back to the drawing board, but 9-5. You said that he's on it. That's a three knockout streak right there.
Yep.
Yeah, that might be the last of the Cuban Missile Crisis in the UFC. We'll have to see what happens with him.
All right, next.
On to another extremely this is an even crazier knockout. Bruno Ferreira versus Dustin Stoltzfus. Go ahead.
I had Bruno by KO, and this was not my bet. I believed in the community, and they led me to the right path. And it took, 4 minutes and 51 seconds. Again, I feel like this happened a lot quicker than that. I don't remember them stalling out for too long. I can tell you Bruno was very gassed. And that was very telling. When they let's see, yeah, one for two for takedown. So when he got back to his feet, it was pretty telling. Like his cardio was gonna need some work, especially being a big dude for this division. Like we see it with those big muscular guys, man. They just gas. And I'm not gonna say the word that I was gonna say was definitely not it, but he did have a good strike to end the fight, and he's lucky he did because it was gonna start getting rough for him, I think. But he has the strength to make up for his cardio, I guess, at points.
For sure. The way that this fight progressed through that one round, this is another one of those 1 round fights that felt like it was an entire fight in 1 round. It was getting to the point where both of them were getting a little bit wild, and it looked like they had both taken a little bit of damage to kind of, get them a little punch drunk. I don't think anybody saw that spinning elbow knockout from any distance away. I mean, that was way out of left field. I've seen many spinning elbows thrown. It's been a while since I've seen one not be actually achieve the knockout, and it was a really, really clean one. So good for him for that. But you're absolutely right. Both of them were putting a lot of energy and effort in early in this round, and it was showing towards the end of the round. It would have been a lot slower pace if it had gone to a second round, and then the third would have could have been very, very sluggish. Good on him for having the wherewithal to be able to pull that off after what was a pretty decent little back and forth, because Dustin was getting a couple of his own.
Yeah, I agree. That was going to be my next point. Is Dustin ain't he showed that he's kind of got some dog in him. He might be gone for a while because his face is broke with some nerve damage and stuff, but he showed that he's ready to stand and bang. And when you get this big dude named the Hulk, like, I can understand you being a little worried, like he might fuck me up, and he might have fucked you up in the worst way possible. But hey, you kind of won to me. I think I might remember you.
Fair. Yeah, no, I mean, he's a tough dude, definitely. And all of what you were saying about Chase is referencing the Instagram post that he made after the fact, saying that he's got some significant damage, that was inflicted in that fight, and he's going to be out of commission for a little while. That's the fight game. He knows it. But yeah, come back stronger off of that, because he was showing out nicely. I think really the note that I would give to both of them is to just rein it in a little bit. Like, get a little bit more technical. Like, because the thing is, when you're fighting at middleweight, and like you said, both of them big guys, Bruno, a real big guy for the weight class, you have to be a little bit more, I mean, technical is really just the right word. You have to be a little more tactical, I guess, is a way to put it.
Less bar fight.
Correct, exactly, because that's really what it started to look like towards the end. I mean, both of them were getting a little bit, seeing the stars above the head kind of thing. But yeah, so I mean, if he's going to be going out there and throwing with heavy power that early in the fight, I would say maybe take it down 1/3, take it back just a little bit. But really, that's the note. I mean, it's everything else was fine. I mean, like, all you got to do is just be a little bit more strategic. But other than that, I mean, the power is obviously there. The skills are there, I mean, because really, even before the elbow, he was landing some pretty decent shots as well. I mean, some straights, a couple of nice hooks in there too. Yeah. Really a good show. That's why I say it really felt like an entire fight in 1 round, because they really were throwing the kitchen sink out there early. So, good scrap for both of them. I mean, hopefully Dustin can, come back as strong and show out again. I'm sure, it's going to be a little minute with all of the issues that he's dealing with now, but overall, really nice performance on both sides, even in defeat for Dustin, and very much so for Ferreira with that spinning elbow knockout. That is a thing of beauty.
For sure.
All right. Raul Rosas Jr. Ricky
All right,
Turcios.
so I know we were split on this one, so I'll start with Raul and let you know that This guy's a beast. I don't care how old he is. It doesn't tell anything. He's experienced and he can do so many different things. And the best thing about him, he's ready to kill for the sport and he's ready to die too, man. Like he really is just about his shit. And I'll be honest, when Ricky had him in the sub, I was worried. But then everybody calmed me down. They're like, no way. He's not subbing that chin. That chin is way too big. It's not happening. And I thought to myself,
chin.
I thought to myself, holy crap, they might be right. And when he got out of it, I said, it's just begun now, Ricky. You've just stepped into the water. And when the second round started, I knew it was rough. Ricky was going down.
So, okay, let's just back up one step. We were not split. All right. What I said in my defense is that I thought that Ricky was going to give Raul more problems than people were giving him credit for. That was what I said going into.
And he
this.
did. I'll say that. And he did.
So there you go. Okay. So vindication for St. James. But that being said, first of all, was not at all happy with him not going in for the glove touch. That was an asshole move I did not expect from him. So one thing that I had seen online that I very much agreed with was, if you're going to pull that type of shit, you need to go in there and win that fucking fight. You better be 10,000% sure you're winning that fight. So Ricky, that was a very poor display of sportsmanship, which I really didn't expect from a guy who takes
the teenager, MMA. Dude.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but no, okay. To that point, though, you can't look at him in that light when it comes to the sport, though. I think that is. He's in that same position that Chase Hooper was in earlier on, when, he's this little, fresh-faced little boy or whatever, looking at least. No, fuck that. He is in the UFC. He is at the top of this sport. He gets treated exactly the same as anybody else, but the same way that you would treat anybody else, Ricky Tercios, you don't do that. That reflects poorly on you. Even if he had won the fight, that's still a shitty thing to do. I think that respect in the sport is something that I value. So, I mean, not a good look off the bat. But then that being said, Raul Rosas Jr., he's the truth. What I had said during the watch along is that the loss that he took was a learning experience, and at the age that he took that loss, it was a good one to have. The O doesn't matter in MMA. Boxing is its own fucking thing with how they value that shit, and how you can fight 8 million cans coming up. You can't do that shit in the UFC. It's just not possible. The level of talent in the organization from the starting point, when you have people coming in off the Contender Series that go on to be champions, that should tell you something right off rip. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that being said, the loss that he took, I really do think, based on what I have been seeing from him as he's gotten to the ripe old age of 19, he's improving. He's becoming the truth. If the kid has knockout power, if you know that the kid's got an amazing ground game, and he can go out there and weather the storm, it's like you said, whether or not the chin is a tactical a tactical piece of the equation or not. I mean, it did kind of look like it was in that specific rear naked that he was encountering at the time. I mean, it really, what we were saying on the watch along is that you could kind of see like the skin, the flesh of Tercios's arm kind of poking up from the chin. All that aside, whatever. The point is, the kid has all of the makings of what he wants to be going forward. And at 19 years old, to be showing that acumen, that level of prowess in this sport, there's nothing to say that he couldn't be a champion. I really don't think that there's anything to say that he doesn't have that potential.
That was exactly my point. I was going to ask what you believe, what he could be. And I think you're exactly right. Like, I don't care. Okay, one, he's young. He's 19 or plenty of time. Time is not the factor.
More time than he knows what to do with.
Exactly. One, and then he's got another division that he could fill out to by then. So he's going to experience so much. And, we see people that like are around for a really long time, and then they finally get like their one title shot or whatever. Who's to say Raul can't get one? Like, God dang. And he's good, man. He's got the wrestling of people like his wrestling and grappling, his sub game, like, and on top of that, like you can't stand with him. That's the part that we're learning, like we're starting to forget is like he's gonna get somebody caught again, and then we're gonna remember like, holy shit, this dude can do it all. Like,
and really, I think that the Chase Hooper comparison is pretty apt. I mean, they're different stylistically. They're not the same guy, and in that when they're in the cage. However, Chase had a couple of little holes in his game. I mean, very technically sound early on, but still needed to grow. I think that's why I'm glad he got that loss. I'm happy with that loss. I think that loss was important to his development as a fighter. And going forward, I think that it's really going to be a credit to how he evolves himself continuing on.
I think my comparison, I like yours, but I'm going to go with Diego Lopez. And the loss that is similar to Raul's would be against Movzar. That was a really good loss for Diego. He knows I can't go to decision because people are going to fuck me over. He believes he won that fight. Maybe, other people believe he won that fight. He knows that I got to finish this shit now. And that's what he does. And Raul's kind of the same way. He's going for the finish. He's not going to let you guys fuck him over again. And I respect that so much. Even at the ripe age of 19, he knows what he has to do. Dude is really smart. He may not look it, and you guys may clown him, but he might be a generational athlete, bro. Look at him at 19. Do you see this picture right here? Like, this dude is ridiculous. Like,
yeah, no, I mean, and that is one of those things. It's kind of dumb. All of the external chatter about the facial features and this and that. It's a bunch of noise. Fuck all the noise. And and that's something that I think also, like, I give him a lot of credit for. That he's had to have dealt with that his entire life.
Right.
I mean, he's wearing
maybe why he's a fighter.
I mean, there's that might have played into it, whatever that case may be. All of that, it's when he gets in the cage, fucking say it to his goddamn face. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's there, like, he does what he needs to do. He's like, and you can tell, I mean, the way that he conducts himself too, he's a respectful young kid. I mean, like, I don't see why everybody shouldn't be a fan of this guy. Like, yeah. He's got everything that you'd want in a great. He's got a lot of respect for the game. He's got a lot of respect for his opponents always. This whole thing with Ricky Turcios was like, the way he was talking about it after the fight was like, he seemed kind of like confused by it all. You know what I mean? It was like, why is he like acting this way? And I think that like that sort of speaks to who he is as a person. It's like, bro, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. So
real
all of that. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, just a good kid going out there and showing out. I mean, I don't see any real roof to him right now. I mean, like you said as well, you made a great point. He's 19. He can move up in weight and go tear up through the next division. I mean, there's so much that this kid can do, and we're really seeing just the earliest phases of it. It's really an awesome thing to be able to witness. We're in an interesting time as fans to be able to see someone, from the very, very beginning of their career and their life. The kid can't even buy a fucking beer in America.
Yeah, and for sure, another thing, like, I joined at a really good time because it was right when Raul like signed his contract, and I was really excited to see holy shit, like 17, 18-year-old kid about to come out here and like put on a fucking show for everybody, and like he's just that guy. Like, I can't really put it into any more words. Like, Raul's just, he knows what he's got to do when he comes out and does it. He's a businessman.
He wants to buy a house and a van for his mama.
Hey, and whatever a Chihuahua is,
yeah, that too. But I'm class me as the conductor of the hype train. I'm all for him. I can't wait to see what this kid does. And I think that another interesting element of his story is going to be how the UFC handles him, because they were I would suspect that they were trying to hotshot him. I mean, they were giving him a decent early opponent that was supposed to be like, if you can do this, we're going to fast track you, because the story is so good there. He had been saying that he wanted to be the dude who was going to break John Jones's record, youngest champion. I mean, That unfortunately cannot happen now. But I think that because of that, it adds another element to the story. Because it's like, okay, well, now, the dynamics have changed a little bit. You're not going to necessarily get, shot straight up into ranked fighters or anything like that. What is the next fighter going to look like that he's facing? How is he going to evolve for, as he continues on? I think it's better. That's why I'm saying, like, would I have liked to have seen him stay undefeated and, broke. You know how I feel about John Jones. I want anybody to dethrone him in any way possible. I think it was better for him to take that loss. I think that this is going to be a better progression for him as a fighter. I think it's going to make him more well-rounded. It's going to make him a more intelligent fighter. His fight IQ is already so goddamn high for such a young age that it's only going to make him better. I can't wait. I'm really high on Raul Rosas Jr. I'm a fan.
I 100% agree.
And just to finish it off real quick, Ricky Turcios, you need to go back to the drawing board on your approach to these things a little bit, my friend, because I saw Ricky throughout the entire Ultimate Fighter series, and I got one impression of him from that, and I got a little bit of a different impression of him from that fight. Not only in the respect elements, I mean that I mentioned that whatever that's part of it. However, if you're going to be this dude who's, I mean, he kind of went in there a little bit wild. So, I mean, like, I didn't really think that was the right, like, I think that he thought he was going to be able to overwhelm him. I think that he thought that, this young kid's coming in here. I'm going to, big
I'll
brother
spook
him.
him.
Exactly. Yeah, really. Like, pull the Mike Breeden out, start barking at him a little bit and see if he shrivels. That was not going to happen. And even regardless of your opponent, you should never have a game plan that's like formulated that way to begin with. You need to be coming into every fight like as almost a fresh slate. And do your research, make sure that you know who you're fighting, what you should be anticipating, yada yada. However, you should never go in there like thinking that you're going to be able to just run and gun. I mean, that does work for some people. Works for Michel Pereira. You're not Michel Pereira, so I mean, I think that Ricky needs to go back to the drawing board a little bit, reassess how he is approaching fighting in general, because he's like I had said on the preview stream, he is a very like sort of dialed in guy. Like he takes fighting very seriously. So I'm like, it just seemed he just seemed off in all of this. Everything that I'm talking about right now adds up to a dude who just seemed like he was not in his element. Like, and I don't really know why he got to where he got. Get yourself out of that mindset, reset, get yourself back to being the fighter that you think you are in your mind.
Yeah, for sure.
So that is the button on that. All right, co-main event, Dom Reyes.
This was good to see. Dominic Reyes, Dustin Jacoby.
Yes, sir.
Really good matchup because it gave Dominic a win. I don't know anything else to say. I can tell you that the stream cut out right when the flurry happened, so that was kind of interesting. Well, actually, I'll tell you, I'll even go further into it. I ruined this one for everybody, and I didn't mean to because I had my bets open, right? And I had a parlay with Dominic Reyes and that I just threw up randomly like, oh, I mean, fuck it. I have extra money that I won on Puja. And so the bet like skyrocketed, right? Like I was like $2 to like 25. And I was like, holy shit, guys, like something happened. And they were like, oh my God, why are you talking right now? And I was like, guys, I'm like, what? I won a bunch of money. I don't know. And they're like, oh my fucking God. So the stream cuts out. But I rewatched it this morning with my dad, another good one I had to go show him. And Dominic Reyes, you can see the skill and technicality is still there. And he did knock this dude out in a very impressive way. But not to knock you, I just don't see it translating to another fight. Because that Dustin Jacoby dude, he took that shot, went noodle leg. And granted, that was a good check that Dominic had in the pocket, up against the cage. And then he put it all together, dropped him with the knee, and then dropped him on his face. Wow, the ending of it, that was all cut out for me. When he dropped him on his face, like him like questioning like why did you stop it? And I'm like, now I realize like how even worse it was that he was so confused why the fight was being stopped. Like, holy shit, he put him out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm agreeing with a lot of this assessment, honestly. I mean, Dominic Reyes was essentially hanging on by a thread. I mean, this was he was on 4 losses.
Four 4 losses, 3 knockouts in a row.
Yeah. So, very, very rare that you get a fourth or a fifth rather. I mean, with especially like you said with the knockouts that occurred there, the trajectory was not good. Yet another fighter that unfortunately was not the same after fighting John Jones. This is not new. This has happened to Gustafsson. This has happened to Santos. I mean, uh, you know, I don't know if it is just the curse of John Jones or what it is. If maybe they're just that is the pinnacle of them as fighters. I can't necessarily put a pinpoint on why that is, but Dominic Reyes was another fine example of that happening. And so it was good to see him get that knockout. It was like you said, a nice technical performance for him. I mean, he put together the combinations that really led to exactly where it was supposed to go. Dustin Jacoby looked a little out of his element when the volume started to increase. That was a little surprising to me, I would say. I would have thought that with the experience that Jacoby has, that he would have been a little bit. I mean, they're fighting light heavyweight. I know they're big guys. I would have expected him still to be a little bit lighter on his feet when he saw the volume coming at him the way that it was. I don't know if he was maybe underestimating Dominic a little bit. I can't speak to that part of it. I think that he stayed a little bit too deep inside when he could have gotten out of range earlier when the flurry started to come heavier. And that really ended up being the one of his biggest mistakes that led to the sequence that knocked him out. All of that being said, Dominic Reyes is really thinking that he's going to mount another run. I mean, he is only 13-4. It's not the worst in the world when you take it a step backwards, but when you look at it under the microscope, do you think that he could do that against? Yeah,
I mean, if he gets another lob, like this is clearly like you go from John Jones to Dustin Jacoby, like they're really trying to get you something. You must be popular, guy, and you did this one right. So hopefully you don't get a light heavyweight. See, because like I'm thinking of people like even Rakic. Rakic would like dog Reyes. Like
that's what I was just going to ask is like, do you think that he could do it against, any of the ranked guys? I mean, it's a tough one. And like you said, I mean, Rakic is probably about the starting point for that, right? I mean, Rakic,
he's fifth. You got like Johnny Walker, Khalil Roundtree, if he, makes a return. I mean, he's not winning.
Khalil Roundtree would, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think Khalil Roundtree would take him, honestly.
Well, I think we discovered that Anthony Smith and Dominic Reyes have not actually matched up. So I think
that was I had seen that matchup being, the fantasy matchup, a fight to make that people were kind of speculating on in some of the discussion groups. I love that fight. I think that
yeah. I think that would be good for Dominic. He can beat the shit out of Anthony Smith all day. That's probably his best opportunity to get back because Anthony Smith is 10. That's his best shot to get back in the top 10 because anybody else is knockout threat. Anthony Smith is not a knockout threat. Like Carlos Ulberg, obviously you're not getting that because he's fighting, soon. Like he's knockout power. Gushkov, knockout power. Khalil Roundtree, knockout power. Like, and if you somehow manage to get somebody, Rakic is fine, but like Jan, if you get Jan is somewhere in the stratosphere right now. Nobody knows when he's getting this fight, but somebody like that is still gonna beat Dominic Reyes, and he's never gonna get that fight. But it's just he needs a tailor-made matchup to get to the top 10. Is basically what my point is.
I would tend to agree. Honestly, after the skid that he was on, I think that fighting outside the rankings is still probably what would be merit based. If the organization wanted to go purely off of merit, I don't know. I think that that's another interesting element to it is how much does the John Jones fight factor into the mystique, quote unquote, of Dominic Reyes? Because I know that fight was probably a little bit before your time with the sport. But I mean, have you seen that fight? Did you
Reyes and Jones?
Yeah.
I may have had it on. I can't tell you any. I know that Dominic knocked him down, and they didn't count that one. I can tell you that specifically about it. And it went to decision, so he must have
You
done
know,
something really well.
if that's a free fight out there, maybe next week, take a, I'll find a link, I'll send it to you or whatever. Maybe we can come back to it because my, what my assessment of it, which I think a lot of people do agree, is that Dominic Reyes did win that fight. I do think that he won that fight. I mean, I think that the fight with Thiago Santos was a little bit less of a close one than that one was, but also still a close enough one to say that it was goddamn close. But the Dominic Reyes fight, I do believe, was pretty much a robbery when it came to him losing that fight. All that being said, so I mean, the reason I bring all of that up, and what didn't mean to put you on the spot with that, but
No, you're good.
the reason I bring that up though is to say how much does that non-win / win, however the fuck you look at it, yada yada, how does that factor into what they do with Dominic Reyes now? You know what I mean? It's an interesting little piece of the equation.
Well, he just won, and he was a co-main event on a fight night. So you figure he's on his way back to a pay-per-view spot, not anywhere near the top, but you figure he could open a card or be the featured prelim of a pay-per-view. Against who? I don't know. It's got to be I mean, maybe he headlines a fight night. Maybe they give him some up and coming guy that we don't know about. Like he could just be I know we call everybody a gatekeeper or give everybody the potential gatekeeper, title, but there's just no way he's getting further up. That's his best route is either getting Anthony Smith or somebody below him.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that currently.
Because the fact that he's 15th is actually kind of nuts still.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I think that really speaks more to how they are conducting the fights within the division in general. Really, I mean, I think that there's a lot of movement in the upper echelon of the division. When you start going below that is where it starts. Like they might be trying to, get a couple people to shake up the lower part, like in the long term and like the long game. But like when it comes to the, the day to day, card to card kind of stuff, I think that it's not really like moving all that quickly right now for that division. I mean, it's because I mean, really, you got Alex there, and they're pretty happy with that. You know what I mean? So, it's going to be interesting to see how that continues to evolve. Like I said, we're in some of the Yama episodes. We're in a transitional period in a lot of ways in MMA. So there is potential for the shakeups to be happening a little bit more. But you're right; it does kind of speak volumes that he is still 15th in general. Yeah, I think that you're right. I think that he does have the potential to be like pretty much exactly what you said. He could be on on a pay-per-view. He could headline a fight night. It'd be interesting now to see him back in another 5-round fight. With all of what we just talked about. I mean, with the losing streak and now with the knockout. I mean, is he able to continue on that late into the fight? Really recent history has told us otherwise from the last fights, but I think that what I'm trying to get at is that Dominic Reyes is just a big old question mark right now.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was even able to save, because really, I mean, he saved his career on Saturday. Let's be real about it, right? So, the fact that he was able to do that was somewhat surprising to me after the skid he was on, but it just it asks more questions than gives answers right now. So a lot of question marks.
Yep. Okay.
All right, and that brings us to the main event: Jared Cannonier versus Nasruddin Imavov. What do you think, Chase?
I think Imavov, however you say it. First off, he is a dirty fucking fighter. The fact that he would not put his fingers away, and the fact that he would not, he put his finger in Jared's mouth and knocked his mouthpiece out. Like, that was ridiculous. Like, how was that not, there was already a warning. And then there was never a hard warning. And then there was more, hey, put your finger, hey, you got to close your fist. It's like, dude, he did not fucking care. He did not care. And then we saw some BS, but it was just some lackluster officiating. And we forgot to mention it with the Ricky Tercios fight. He was doing elbows and being told, like, hey, stop, like, you gotta like check it. And he's like, yeah, I got it. And like he just goes back to doing it. Like he was just basically bitching the ref. And Jason Herzog, we were giving you so much praise before this fight. Fight started, we said, Jason Herzog, holy shit, there is not going to be something goofy here. He is one of the best. We don't talk about him because he does so good. You only talk about bad refs. Those are only time you talk about it. It's like a waiter. You know, you don't talk about the good waiters. You talk about the bad experiences with the waiters. And this one right here, holy shit, he's ridiculous for stopping it the way he did. Jared, the fact that Jared never hit the ground, the fact that Jared actually gave a great defensive check and it backed Imavov up, it like that finishing sequence, I'll even be real with you. I even thought a lot more strikes landed. But then when you watch it in replay, Imavov was missing all of the shots. He landed one shot, so he missed and like forearmed Jared in like the back of the head, which was crazy dirty. Jared is like falling forward, you know, going into the cage. Then Imavov is like throwing a punch, punches the cage, man. He gets full cage with this last flurry where Jason Herzog steps in. And it's just ridiculous that, from what I hear, Jared Cannonier has been in a lot worse. So the fact that they stopped this one early is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. So point by point, based on what you just said, it's kind of funny because I think that we had pretty much parallel experiences with this fight. Literally on the watch along, I said going into this fight that you've got the best ref in the game, in my opinion, in there for this fight. You're not, yeah, like you said, you're not going to have any problems. And to see the amount of dirtball shit that Imavov was doing after the fight with Delice, where he was also doing some pretty dirty shit, I was really I was perplexed, I guess is the best way to say. I'm looking at it and I'm like, Jason Herzog, like you know this sport like better than 99% of the referees. Like you are the go-to guy. He is literally my example. So in the Atlantic City video that I did, he is the example that I used of the referee that you don't want to not have. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What I had said was that, you know, fighters should not feel nervous going into a fight if Jason Herzog is on vacation. You know what I mean? That, you know, talking about other referees and their abilities and whatnot. So he's sitting there watching these things happen, and he's giving those soft warnings, like you said. There was one round, I think it was the going into the fourth round, that when the fight was ended. I believe that he did give Imavov a warning before the round started, but again, you can say that stuff in casual conversation, so to speak. If it's not going to be called, what the fuck's the point? Like,
yeah.
And so, you know, you make the point about Ricky Tercios. Yeah, I didn't remember him going back, because I do remember the sequence that you were talking about where he was getting those shots, you know, the downward elbows to the back. I didn't remember him going back to it, but Imavov was pretty much doing that exact thing. He was leading with his fingers so blatantly and being warned, not doing anything about it, and then nothing happened.
Yeah.
So that was extremely frustrating. And then the ending sequence, like you said, it really was like that. I forget who Cutelaba was fighting, but it reminded me of that one fight with where Cutelaba got knocked out.
Oh, Ankalaev.
There you go. Yeah, Cutelaba versus Ankalaev. Yeah. So I mean, that was another one where Cutelaba just immediately looked at him like he had a third fucking head. He's like, the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. Jared had the same basic reaction. What the fuck are you talking about? Now, what I would say, and I'll be as much of the devil's advocate on this one as I can be, because you know how much the regulation and rules of the sport, how I cover that very regularly. I will say that Cannonier was in a compromised state. You know, he was not 100% for sure. That's about as much leeway as I can give it, though. It
Yeah.
really, you know, I mean, really at the time, I remember sitting there watching it. I was like, oh, he really did call it. Like, it was one of those things that didn't register at first. You know, I was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, no, he's really calling this thing. I was like, wow. So, yeah, no, it was just a very unfortunate blunder on the part of a referee who is otherwise probably the best in the business, but that in and of itself really concerns me. You know, it really is concerning to me in the bigger picture that even the best referee and also I think that the other part that's also very concerning, and I'll shut up after this, is that it's not only the fact that the best referee made a mistake, it was that he made a mistake that was not a split second mistake. It was a
Yeah.
conscious. It was a series of actions that led up to it, and he consciously saw all of them in sequence and said, "This is the appropriate time to stop the fight."
I'm pretty sure he even like stunted at it. He was like, should I? I'll go ahead and do it. So another thing is like, I maybe now this is obviously not the level that you would be upset of for the same fight, but when you watched Izzy and Alex got the TKO against him, how early of a stoppage was that compared to this? Like, is that
Uh, that's I mean, I think that that one was a little bit more clear to me. I would say because I mean he was landing multiples that were like power shots that were in sequence that were unanswered. Like based on the because I mean I think that you described the sequence pretty accurately. I mean it was the one that buckled him over. He was kind of in that folded position for just a second, kind of staggered. He threw that other shot back. That was the defensive shot that backed him up, and then it was the one after that. So I mean, it was more of an exchange than the Alex Izzy
true?
sequence to me. I mean, based on my assessment of it.
Yeah, and that's actually a crazy way to describe the finishing sequence. It was an exchange. Like it's not like Jared was getting the shit beat out of him. Like he was okay, he was goofily like it was kind of funny to watch him run away. I'll give you that one. But he was conscious enough to say, I gotta get the fuck away from the dude punching me. Like that's not a compromise position. It's not a life or death situation. Like Jared, like not Jared, but Jason, I just expected better from you, dog. I'm not even gonna lie.
Because the other thing too is that so again, playing somewhat devil's advocate, you could say that it would have ended the same way. I have heard that argument. Oh, he was stopping him from taking unnecessary damage. Imavov was just going to come in, could have thrown a really crazy knee that might have been a flat knockout. Could have. There were a lot of things that could have happened, but you can't preempt based on what you saw. You can't preempt that. Like it's not. It wasn't clear, and so this is also one of those kind of philosophical elements because to me I'm starting to get to the point where I don't know if it's ever really appropriate to stop a fight on the feet, like
Yeah.
due to strikes. I mean, like I based on those kind. I mean, it has to be so clear that he is completely gone that it's undeniable. You know what
I'll
I
give
mean?
you a worse example that's pretty similar to this too. Sean O'Malley, Chris Matino. That one should not have been stopped because the man was walking forward, hands up. He may have been getting punched, but I mean, Sean's elite. He's got some precision. It's hard to not get punched when you're, walking up against Sean O'Malley. And so like it's just ridiculous that fights get stopped like that cuz again, they didn't go to the ground. He's not beating on Jared's head like Bobby Green and Jalen Turner. Like Jared was there right after the fight ended. Jared's got his hands up and he's like, what are you doing? Like, why would you even do that? And Jason Herzog, I wanted to mention this too. I think he was drunk or something because he wanted to act like Jared was the most unconscious. Don't fall out the like. He's like grabbing him and shit. It's like, dog, you just like ruined the fucking fight. I'm like, I'm cool. You are over. You're making this more than it is. Like, it was
Yeah,
ridiculous.
and one thing that I think we had mentioned it on the preview stream, but I definitely mentioned it on the watch along was that Jared is a durable fighter. Like Jared, he used to fight at heavyweight. I mean, like the dude is familiar with power. You know, I mean, like if like this dude is not out here like getting like glass chin knocked out. I mean, like he can take a dude went fucking toe to toe. People forget. I mean, because it was eventually a very really like solidly one sided performance. But early on in the fight with Vittori, he was taking a decent amount of damage. I mean, not
Right.
anything that was going to be knockout worthy, obviously, but same kind of basic situation here. I mean, like, you know, like maybe I take that back. Not same situation, but the point is that he is familiar with damage. He is familiar with power. He is familiar with pain. The guy knows, you know, when he is compromised like that, and he did basically the right thing. Now you could say there is somewhat of the argument that you should never be turning your back in a fight. You should never be evading to that extent. However, we've seen that plenty of goddamn times. How about when Conor turned his back on Nate 8 million fucking times in the fight that he eventually won? I mean, that was to me like quite a clear example of a dude who was running away. No real calling for, you know, lack of engagement on something like that. The inconsistency is the problem. And then for the ending to be what it was, very unfortunate.
Well, and so this may not be a great point, but we have a rule book, and it's not like Jared did anything wrong. It was a good against the rules, turning your back. It's not like they can punch you in the back of the head. So I mean, tactically, he knew what he was doing. Like,
well, actually, I think that technically it is against the rules to turn your back. I think that actually might be.
Well, he ain't get called for it. How about that?
Fair. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
really, if Imavov wouldn't get called for the fingers, man, take a lap around the ring. I don't care.
And that's and all of what we're talking about right now is really speaking towards the bigger point, which is the lack of consistency. And that to me is just, I mean, we were talking about it in my chat during the watch along as to like what the, you know, like people instantly were like, oh, video incoming, you know, like, you know, thinking that I was going to cover it because I, you know, cover this stuff so much. And I'm like, it gets a little it gets a little tried and tiring to be yelling about these same things over and over again, but it is warranted. Actually, one of the things I was thinking about was possibly opening it up to the Discord to say, give me all of your any fix that you think could make a difference. It doesn't matter if it's a good one or not. Good idea, bad idea, I don't care. I want to hear all of them, go through them, sort them out, and then maybe put that into a video, because the point of all of what I'm saying is the lack of consistency is so goddamn great right now. I mean, like, great in a bad way. It's so overwhelming that we're seeing it time and time again. How many events do we have to go through where a fucking, because really what the chat was saying as well is that this wasn't like you know, some middle of the card kind of fight, man. This is Jared Cannonier fucking clinging to his number 4. I mean, like, he was trying to his goddamn hardest to stay in the title contention. This is a contention eliminator fight, a contender eliminator fight here. Like, you've now robbed him of that. He can't get that back. It's just, anyway.
I will point out, it doesn't mean much, and it's probably not going to happen. Jared did call out for a rematch in France, which that would be cool, but I doubt it's happening. Imavov probably won't take that matchup, but
yeah, I mean, that
already beat you. I'm already past you. Why would I? Why bother?
Well, and you know, he was playing his cards, I guess, strategically, technically, correctly after the fight himself, Imavov, because he was saying that, oh, you know, the referee said he wasn't, you know, good to fight. It's the, you know, it was a perfectly fine stoppage, you know, this and that. So he's already setting the groundwork for exactly what you're saying. Yeah, you know, why would I take that fight? I beat him. I don't need to take a rematch off that. It's like,
well, and he called out Sean Strickland, I'm pretty sure, didn't he?
I think he did, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a fight he's not going to get either, because, you know, nobody gives a fuck about Imavov. But either way, Jason, you ruined it all. The whole Discord, we all went in on Jared Cannonier, and we all lost together. It was a beautiful sight, I'm not going to lie. We looked like a real team. It was just sad to see.
Yeah, no, and that was the same with me and Vitz, man. Both of us were rooting for Jared. I mean, you know, I'm a fan. I've watched him for a good amount of his career at this point, you know, through all of the trials and tribulations that he's gone through, the ups and downs. I mean, you know, I was watching him during the title fight. Didn't go his way, of course. I mean, you know, he's a guy that I would like to see succeed, and it really is an unfortunate way to have that taken away from him. That's yet another reason why it stings so much, is that, he you could tell that the will was still there, and to have it end like that just really it really sucks, because now, where do you put him at that point? I mean, he's trading numbers with Imavov probably. I mean, that would make the most sense, I would guess. And I just don't think that he's, I mean, he's 40 years old. I mean, this is,
Yeah.
yet another element to all of it. It's just not gonna, not gonna trend well for him going forward. I don't think, there's not enough tune-ups that he's going to be able to do to mount another run, and it's a shitty way for that possible run to end. It reminds me a little bit, for different reasons, but Shavkat versus Wonder Boy, in the sense that it's like you're just watching the end of the road.
Yeah.
And that just sucks to have the end of the road look like that. But yeah, Imavov now number 4, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Who knows, man? Let's actually look. So he's 4. Or actually, they haven't updated it yet. They actually only moved him above Paulo, so that's still not updated. I mean, gosh, if Marvin ever comes back, I guess throw him against him, or Brendan Allen, Jack Hermanson, I guess. But these are the tier people that he needs to be seeing, because you move into, okay, Roman Delizde he could definitely match up on him too, but I don't know, man. Like the people that are coming up, like Kaio, Michelle.
But you think fighting down would be appropriate for him?
Oh yeah, for sure. He's not getting Rob Whittaker, of course. He's not getting Israel. He's not getting Sean Strickland. The only way he's getting a matchup is fighting down.
You don't think that they would give the loser of Whittaker and Hamzat to
him? I feel like they got to have better in store. Plus, they got to do something with Brendan Allen and Vettori and Delizde. Like all 3 of those, we haven't seen fight in a while, and Rob is going to be fighting in a couple of weeks. So you would assume they get somebody in there quicker than waiting for Rob. I don't know. That's just me though. Because Rob and Imavov, like that's not a matchup that anybody really wants to see. I mean, wait till, if Rob's going to take a while, say he loses and he's got to recover, so he's going to be fighting around, a little down. You get Kaio out there, that would be a matchup to see. The karate specialist, like, I don't know. There's just plenty of other ones to see.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think all of what you're saying is making sense. Yeah, I mean, that's another part of it too, I guess you could say, is that not only because of the stoppage, but also, I guess, because of a little bit of the dirtiness as well, I don't necessarily need to see him fight again, like, for a while. You know what I mean? I'm not clamoring for another Imavov fight.
Yeah, I think in that regard, as like, if we were going to base it on what we, to see him fight next, I think the best opportunity for that is I would want to see the rematch. But other than that, I don't really care to see him fight anybody else, because he was kind of already fucking around and made me dislike him in general.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice if they would book that rematch, if he would take it. Like you said, I don't think he will. I mean, he's made it pretty clear that, he's got belt aspirations. I think that he also has a little bit of that, I don't know what you call it necessarily, but that, I guess, gamesmanship, I guess you might say, where it's he might want to be a little picky choosy kind of guy. He's not a fight anybody anywhere kind of guy. All of that, all that being said, I mean, I just, it's it just all around sucks. It really, and it's an unfortunate cap off to an otherwise really, like, wild ride of an event. I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on this card. I mean, it had the potential to really cap off a pretty decent night of fights. And yeah, just an unfortunate all around. Unfortunate for Cannonier, unfortunate for Jason Herzog. Really, I mean, because you saw the tweets. I mean, you saw that he's not hiding. He's taking it on the chin. I mean, he's pretty accepting of the criticism. He knows that he was wrong. So it's, it sucks all around. I mean, I try to be as fair as possible with all that kind of stuff, and it does suck for the referee too when they know that they've fucked up. but that doesn't change the facts, and it sucks all around.
Yeah. All right. We can close out that card and look ahead to next
Yeah.
week.
What do we got next
I
week? Is it next? It is next week. Yeah, it is next week.
It
All right,
is
cool.
next week, and holy crap, I missed a really big name on this. They must have just thrown this in there because there's no way I would have missed my guy Jeka Sergey. My Indonesian brother is going to. He's a minus 370 favorite too. That's I'm happy
Is
to.
he on the prelims?
He is on the prelims.
Okay,
He's
we
the
can let's.
third fight. Yep,
Gotcha.
there he is. That's not even his picture. That is crazy. I don't think that's his picture, but maybe he grew his hair out because the one that Google or the one that ESPN has is a little different. But yes, he's from Indonesia. He is a god. He might even knock this dude out because the last time I saw him, oh yeah, he only gets knockouts or he gets knocked out. Yeah, he's a finish or be finished kind of guy. Love to see that. Oh no, what? Wait a minute. I'm confused. I thought okay, so when they were saying Pooja was the first Indian to get a win in the
Indian
UFC,
woman.
but they were saying that it was also the first Indian. But now that I see Jekka lost to Anshul in the UFC, but it has a belt next to it. I'm so confused on why
That might have been Road
ESPN,
to the UFC.
but it says UFC Fight Night,
Oh,
Lewis
okay.
and Spivak.
Hmm.
I'm like, yeah, Anshul finished him. Like that's weird. Okay, why? I don't know why there's a glitch with the belt thing. Anyway, but yes, he's a finisher, or be finished kind of guy. My guy Jekka, can't wait to see him.
All right. And he's
Another
fighting
one.
Weston Wilson. He's another dude who's kind of a somewhat of an up and comer, I believe. I think that he's is he a contender series guy? I think he might be.
The record's not very hopeful.
Yeah, no, it's not. But he had
John
done.
Silva.
Oh no, I guess he did just come in off. Okay, I must be mistaking him for a different fighter then. Okay, fair
So
enough.
this dude
Take it
just
back.
lost to John Silva.
Yeah,
Interesting enough. But yeah, so I'm gonna take Jekka on that one. And
cool.
then the next fight, so Carly Judas, she's 3-1, which is very interesting to see in the UFC because you would think she's a high level prospect or something, you know. And she lost in the contender series, but she got a contract because my girl Anesta Kershwright whooped her up, and they both got signed. So this is her first fight, her fourth professional fight. Very, very interesting. I don't know if I can tell you she's gonna win, but 4-2 looks really bad. So she needs to do something.
Well, 3-2, right?
Oh yeah, sorry, 3-2. Yes, excuse
Yeah.
me.
Yeah,
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 that
got
even
you
looks
though.
worse.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, exactly. Fair enough. Yeah, Gabriela Fernandez. She also knew. That's not a name that's sticking out to me either. I haven't done a ton of research on this one yet.
No, me neither. I know a couple guys, and those are my dogs.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, she's not sticking out as one that I recognize. Oh, she lost to Jazz Vicious. Oh, she lost to Bleda. Okay, so she's on a little bit of a skid herself here. She needs to show out
So
and
this might be a lob for Miss Carly.
could be.
You know,
Yeah,
four and
absolutely.
one, looking like a little freight train.
All right, fair enough.
But yeah, and so Jekka being a favorite, you know, I wasn't too sure putting money down on that because minus 370 is a lot. But the reason I'm confident on that hitting and being a good bet is because a parlay with Josh Van as the underdog. I'm going
Oh
to the
yeah, your
moon.
boy Josh Van is fighting.
My
Hell
guy,
yeah,
Josh
dude.
Van. And I didn't even coin this one, but I'm going to go with it now because the Discord said so. Mini Max Holloway right here, man.
Hey, actually,
Shout out.
based on that
Fucking
last performance, I mean that is not a off base comparison, really. I mean the level of cardio that he was showing in his fight, man, he was all gas, man. That dude was really
yeah.
really sharp.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
really fuck with him.
No, I'm liking this card though. Taking a look at it, I mean, Josh Quinlan on here fighting Adam Fugit. I mean, that's a pretty good matchup. That's one that Josh should hopefully be able to win. I've seen him fight a couple of times. He's got to figure out a couple of kinks here and there, but there's definitely promise in him. Jimmy Flick versus Nate Menace. That's a fight that I really really like. Both those guys they're both ones that are sort of a little bit wild. They kind of go out there with a little less strategy than they probably should. They might be a little bit too headstrong for their own good. But Jimmy Flick will catch you in some odd submissions sometimes. So I mean, he's a dangerous dude. And yeah, Nate Maness's game, so that's a good one too. But so I mean, you obviously you're going Van over Ulanbekov, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. No doubt. Josh Van's gonna work him over. Gonna be a good underdog piece for this parlay.
Yeah,
It'll look real nice.
nice. And my boy
Probably, hey,
Brady. Sorry, go ahead.
probably by Josh has got a lot of finishes, but I think he'll do it again, man. I don't care how he does it. I'm afraid that he might get subbed because we haven't seen him have really like a sub threat against him because he's really good at not getting taken down. He's normally the dude picking you up and putting you on your butt. So there's no really sub defense that I've seen from him. And my guy right here, but this is Russia, right?
Ulanbekov, yeah.
Yeah. Yep, that is a Russian name. Yeah, he might sub my guy. So I think that's a good back end bet to make if you guys are worried. Josh Van money line because that's going to be good odds either way. Plus 190 is already crazy. And then Ulanbekov probably by sub or decision. That'll probably be pretty good.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. But yeah, no. Next on the prelims here, my boy Brady Heasted coming back, another Ultimate Fighter alum, fighting Garrett Armfield, who we were just talking about as the dude who beat Brad Katona.
So, nice.
Yeah,
Well,
so, that's a good one. Brady has a lot of potential. He's I mean he's taken a couple of losses there, but he's another dude that I think he's a young guy. So I mean I think that he's still finding his balance, trying to get himself to really hang with the big dogs. This is a good fight for him to to get himself a little bit more recognition and hopefully pull off a good performance. I'm riding with Brady on that. Hopefully, I'd like to see him get that win.
And so for this next one, we got a Kazakhstan guy, so I'm very excited to see that. And he's a minus 525, so Vegas knows he's a killer.
Are you talking about Asua Almabayev? Yeah, that dude. That is my lock of this card. No, I see that name.
Holy crap!
That's a lock, dude. That dude is a fucking murderer.
6 foot. That's
dude,
a big difference.
He is a
for
fucking
flyweight
mauler. Did you see his last fight? I forgot who he was fighting, but I had to mention it in the Emma episode. He put on a fucking masterclass in his last fight.
Was Carlos Vergara? Was that his name?
Carlos Vergara.
Yeah, I think that's No, CJ Vergara.
CJ Vergara. Yes, correct. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He fucking styled out. This kid's got no the cardio on this dude. You cannot stop this guy. He is fucking insane. It was one of those fights that you talk about making an impression. It's what we talk about, with these fighters when we're talking about we can't remember shit in fights. He made a definite impression. He was fantastic in his last fight. Now, Jose Johnson, I'm not immediately, it's not immediately ringing bells necessarily. I mean, 16-8, he's been around, but I got to go all in. That's my lock. Whoever he's fighting, it's going his way in my mind until I see otherwise.
Yeah. Do you think he's going to finish it?
Now, okay, he did. I don't.
The only way I would bet him, because that's a crazy number to bet, 525. If I could bet him by finish and we could be sure that he's gonna finish, that might be a good one.
I mean, they're fighting flyweight. That's a tough one. He didn't look like he had too much ground game in finishing potential. I don't remember if it went to the ground all that much. He was just doing such nice work on the feet that it didn't really need to. But yeah, I would say that by decision's probably like the safer bet on that. But yeah, the money line that is pretty heavy, but it's warranted, man.
Yeah, facts.
But
all right.
So yeah, I'd say Almabayev by decision just based off of history, but potential could be there. And if you get a knockout at flyweight, you're definitely getting some recognition then.
All right, and so next. El Chapo Johns, whatever the fuck his name is. Miles Johns.
Yeah,
I can't
Miles,
even say it right.
Baby.
So funny, he made a comment. I think it was after Tercios. said that he had staph or whatever. Miles Johns came out and said, I'm tired of all these people talking about staph. I was on staph and those antibiotics like 2 days before a fight, and I went out there and whooped ass, So shout out him. He stood on business. He better get a dub after talking that hot shit, though.
I mean, he's one to get the dub off of talking some hot shit, though. I mean, this dude
Yeah.
is legit. I mean, like that last performance, if that was with staph infection and he went out there and did his, or coming off of it or whatever, then even better. The fucking healthy Miles Johns is that's a dangerous motherfucker. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, let's be 100% real. Cody's my boy, and I ride with him till the very end. Of course, that's my homeboy for real. But it wasn't necessarily like he was taking the craziest offense in that fight. He kind of just did enough. But I do think, like, based on his performances before that, 14-2, it's because I think that his record kind of does tell his tale a little bit. He's had some much more competitive fights and done pretty goddamn well in those fights too.
Yeah,
So yeah,
sure.
I'd be riding with Miles Johns. What's the line on that one?
-120. It's almost a coin flip for these guys.
That, I mean, DeAndrade is 29-5. That's that's a heavy amount of experience there. So I guess coin flip is probably pretty accurate as far as like just the preliminary thoughts, but I'd say go with Johns on that.
I just noticed, and so this is the next one we'll talk about. Holy shit, Ikram Aliskerov.
Yeah,
He is
Aliskerov.
a -1300 this fight. And the
Uh,
dude he's fighting, this picture that they have for him is kind of nuts. It's black and white. I don't know why they
yeah,
do this for some people. And he kind of looks like, kind of gives me like a Bruno Silva vibe. And his shorts are so long in this picture on ESPN. Like it's, if you go to the fight center. Anyway, he's ridiculous. But we'll see. Ikram is really good. When I saw him put that combination together, the flying knee, the high kick, high knee, fly kick, whatever the sequence was, and he finished it. That's a big guy to be doing some stuff like that, and he can put it together.
yeah. I'm kind of
You got a no
wondering.
contest on Dana White's Contender Series. What the hell? How do you get back here?
Yeah, yeah. Really, that's a good question.
He's
I
6'5" though. Jesus.
fair. I mean, I'm looking at this record though, and I'm not necessarily seeing what is really warranting him going up against Aliskerov. I mean, Aliskerov is a name. I mean, this dude is. I mean, he's
Well, but
like you said, coming off of a Contender Series and then one fight outside of the UFC and coming back to fight that far up the card. I mean,
I don't know why this happens sometimes, and this is part of the hot shotting that we see. Sometimes when it comes to these wrestlers, I'm not going to say where they're normally from, but they get these people from who knows where to fight them at the highest level just so they can just wrestle fuck them. Or Ikram's not really a wrestler. I mean, but the region that the wrestlers do come from, Ikram is there. And they sometimes get some hand me fucking fights. And this might be one where we see a very sluggish 6'5" bum come out here. Like the fact that you're a physical specimen at the weight class, and your last fight you got a submission, and then you have like 3 back-to-back L's randomly in some other league. Like it ain't promising. Ikram's probably gonna do some easy work.
yeah, I mean, it really does seem like a fucking layup. I mean, based on the record I was just looking at, it looked like the biggest name that he's fought was Diego Lima, and he lost to him. So I mean, that's none of this is really adding up to me, unless it really is just exactly what you're saying, where it really it's just a nice easy gimme, and that needs to be addressed, man. Maybe there's a video in there somewhere about how these fighters from a certain region of the world keep getting gimmies. Because I mean I wouldn't necessarily say that that's been 100% across the board for Umar, but there's a case to be made there.
Yeah.
Because I mean, for him to go from he's hopscotching over dudes basically, and then going all the way up to Sandhagen, a lot of people were like, "How the fuck did that come about?" And it's really is the strength of the last name.
Yeah, for sure.
So, All right, we'll see how that one ends up going. But yeah, that seems like a pretty slam dunk for Aliskerov. All right, so yeah, main event, your boy Tyra.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna take him. I don't know. It's actually closer odds than I would have thought. I mean, Tatsuro comes from a region, and there's not a lot of I'm trying to think of we've talked about it before, but I don't know the best way to say it in this moment. But like I
Underrepresented.
yeah, so maybe the odds are not as represented of what the skill level should, represent. I would say Tatsuro's got it in the bag because Perez, when you look at his record, he's not. Yeah, exactly. But he lost to some good people. It's really hard to. It's hard to make the point that the L's can stand. But Mokaev, now you're getting to the region of people that you should have been beating, and then you made Matthias Nicolau look stupid. So I don't think you'll make Tatsuro look like that. He brings his A game, and he's got a lot. He's got a lot back in him. He's got to show out for it's Japan, right?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. He
Yeah,
is
he's got to
the
show out.
yeah, the rising star from the land of the rising sun. Um, yeah, I mean, looking at Perez's record, like you said, he's lost to some legitimate killers of the division, but when you do get up to that Mokaev fight, you're right. I mean, that is basically the breaking point of that. Well, it's like Mokaev is on one trajectory, and to lose to him is basically putting yourself underneath. So, yeah, it should be interesting. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking through the record as well. It looks like he's got one submission here, but it doesn't look like I got a couple submissions a little bit farther down. I don't know I don't remember how much wrestling there was in that fight with Nicolau. I don't think there was much at all, though,
No.
right? Because it was round two knockout. I don't think there was much wrestling in the first. So I mean, really, that would be something to watch out for, just to see like if the wrestling becomes a bigger factor than the striking. Because I mean, Tyra's got he's pretty well rounded, I would say, for like we were saying, an underrepresented region of the world, at least for right now. Um, yeah, it should be an interesting fight.
Yeah, he actually kind of reminds me. Who are we talking? Oh, he actually kind of reminds me of like Raul. Like he's got the knockout power that you'll seemingly forget because he does have some slick wrestling. Like he's just slick with it, and you'll forget that. Oh, this dude has hands too. Like he's not just a guy that can just wrap you up and choke you out like a snake.
Yeah, well, the thing was with him is that the one fight that sticks out in my mind is the Shirez fight, where he just looked like he was making like odd choices, and so I
Mhm.
was like, I don't, I mean, like he deserved the win. It wasn't, it was a fine win on his part, but Shirez was also making some negative odd choices that sort of swung it. He kept trying to pull guard and just kept like not getting it, and it was like, bro, you keep going back to a well that is dry. Like, why are you doing that? So like it kind of just sort of put a little bit of an odd taste in the mouth off of that. But then to after that to come out and knock out Hernandez, puts him right back into a better standing. So really, yeah, I think that there's a lot of potential for this to be an interesting fight on both sides. It's definitely one that is going to speak volumes for both of them, because now you're starting to get really a decent amount of way up the ladder. I think that after that somebody's probably getting a number, right? I mean, maybe. I mean, where's the? Because they're fighting at
Flyweight.
what? Yeah, they're fighting at flyweight, right? So I mean, let's see. So if yeah, I mean,
Oh.
if they're, yeah, I would. Oh, he's already got a number. Okay, so yeah, so are they both ranked? Yeah, Perez. Okay.
Uh,
Oh,
yeah.
Perez is fifth. God damn, I didn't know he shot up that fucking high after that fight. Holy fuck. Okay,
It's kind of
that
crazy after 3 back-to-back L's.
that's
And
that's
wait,
exactly it.
why is Mokaev not ranked higher than him?
That's a good question too. I guess maybe just the slight inactivity after the injury from that last fight.
That's kind of crazy. But then you got to think like Tatsuro from 13th, he could jump Mokaev Like that's kind of that's kind of nuts. But the good news is Josh Van will be ranked after this. Gotta be.
Hey,
Gotta be
fair.
close. Cody Durden, get the fuck out of there. Josh Van's skipping you and David Dvorak?
Dvorak, yeah, David Dvorak. Dave Dvorak is one of the dudes that Steve Urseg beat early on in his career. Actually, that was, I think, his first fight in the organization that got him ranked off the short notice.
Actually, I can see it here. Josh Van will get this easy dub this weekend. Throw him Matt Schnell. He'll knock him out. He'll get another finish.
I'm down with that.
Then he'll be ranked.
Actually, if you want to get really, really spicy, you see what he can do against Tim Elliott. Let's see what his ground game is really like.
Well, that'll be interesting.
Thank you very much for following, by the way. Appreciate you.
If that's how the whole so you had Josh Van and Tatsuro, Tim Elliott pulls out. Josh Van, Tatsuro, switch up. Then if you get Tim Elliott and Josh Van somehow, like if that's how that works out for Tim Elliott, whatever, dude. I don't know. I don't know how they told you one thing and said, fuck it, you're not getting this fight because we want Tatsuro in the main event. And honestly, that probably would have been a good fight to initially throw, like Tim Elliott, Josh Van. Like, why'd we have to come give Josh Van some? Actually, the dude that he's fighting is not a nobody. I do know who he is, and it is a good matchup.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, really, I think it depends on what version. I mean, or what he shows. You know what I mean? Like, it's just what he is, taking on in the fight and what he has to deal with, what kind of adversity he has to deal with. That's going to really make the difference as to what the actual matchup that makes the most sense would be. I would like to see him get tested, with his ground game and his takedown defense, all that kind of stuff. See how good it is. If he can withstand some real legitimate pressure, then throw him in with somebody who can really give him a run for the money on that kind of a front. That's why I said Tim Elliott, just because Tim Elliott is extremely unorthodox, and he's a problem for anybody who's not anticipating the movements, and he's very hard to anticipate. So it's going to be a good showcase, hopefully, of his skills if he can get a really nice win off of it. Then we'll see where he shakes out.
Cool.
All right. Right on. So looking forward to all of that. And of course, we will be talking about that card next week on the Monday streams on last week's fights. God, I should be able to say that at this point. What else we got going on in MMA? Anything else we need to touch on? Anything else pressing at the moment?
The guy from Ryzen's coming over.
I heard about that. Yeah. What's that dude's name?
I have no idea.
Yeah. He vacated the belt to come over, didn't he?
Yeah. I think he's a bantamweight too.
Yeah. Kai Asakura.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah. 21-4. That's pretty good. I mean, Ryzen is like, if you've got UFC, I would say one after that. Personally, I guess you can kind of make a case that PFL 1 is sort of, for some people is somewhat interchangeable, but I would say it goes UFC 1, PFL. I'd say Ryzen is probably a little bit of a distant underneath that. So a dominant champion in Ryzen might not necessarily inspire some kind of crazy confidence. I think it really depends on who they are putting him up against. But they haven't announced a opponent for him yet, right?
No, this just happened. He just said I'm leaving.
Yeah, that happened literally yesterday at 4. So this is very recent breaking stuff. But definitely somebody to keep an eye on with that kind of a record. I mean, that's they obviously signed him for a reason. And he just defended against Horiguchi. That's a name.
Cool.
Yeah, right on. Trying to think if there's any other majorly pressing stuff that I wanted to talk about. I mean, really, the last card was pretty much the talk of the town. So that's been the conversation for a little while. All right. I mean, I guess that'll probably wrap it up. Sounds good to me. Every week on last week's fights, I ask you, Chase, where can the people find you? And I know that you have an answer for me.
All right. So if you go to YouTube, you can look up Creative Player. May not find me, but if you go to the link bar and you type in youtube.com/CP Smalls, it should come up.
CP Smalls. Do you have the @? Like, do you?
Oh shit! Is there an @ sign there? Yeah, there might be an @ there.
Well, that's because now that's the, I always make sure that I put the URL is youtube.com/@YamaShow. So find out what your @ is, and then you can say it the same way, and then people will actually be able to find you. I know. See, we're learning things together on this stream, but this is important stuff for you, for your branding, my dude, because I want the people to be able to find your quality content, which you put out quite regularly. A lot of good prediction videos coming out from a boy. Make sure that you are following Chase on YouTube and also, I believe, on Twitter. What is your Twitter handle, homie?
At Creative Partin, Partin. You know, we're over there cooking up some good stuff, telling you all about the videos that I'm posting and how much I want you in the Discord that I have. And, you know,
absolutely, that is the Discord is the place to be. The newly christened MMA Hive. That is where we are all talking MMA. It is a bunch of really good dudes with quality opinions for the most part. A lot of spirited discussions in there, and you know, some good banter going on with the guys. So make sure that you are joining the Discord. Make sure that you're interacting with all of us. I am Thinker St. James, and I am at Yama Show everywhere, at Yama Show, all of the streaming platforms of your choice, on YouTube, Instagram, and on Twitter, at Yama Show. Not on TikTok. Fuck TikTok. They banned me for no reason. I have no clue what happened there. We will still to this day a mystery, but your boy has been legitimately, not even shadow banned, legitimately banned from TikTok. Couldn't tell you why. But anyway, at Yama Show everywhere. Make sure you're following me, and we will see you next Monday to recap the fights, everybody. You have a great week. Catch ya later. Fight on.
Change.